ceremony together and we work on a collective issue. That is when our guides are firmly in place, holding the energy, holding each other, and taking a deeper dive. So that is when we take it into a more serious space. And that is one of the things.
Hi, my name is Yana. Thank you for watching. This episode starts with an audio introduction and continues with the video content. So remember to watch it until the end. And subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, share with friends. Thank you for being here and listening to Timeless Teachings. Hi, my name is Yana, and I'm your guide into the world of mysticism, spirituality, and consciousness. Welcome to the Timeless Teachings podcast and Timeless Teachings YouTube channel. Today our guest is Adrienne Kane, who is a shamanic practitioner, Reiki master, past life regression therapist, and meditation facilitator. Originally from Ireland, Adrienne has been living in Australia and Singapore for the last 30 years. I personally know her as an avid adventurer who has traveled to many sacred sites across the world. Adrienne regularly visits South America and takes a journey with plant medicines for personal development and growth. In this interview, I ask her to be honest and open about her own journey with shamanism and the use of plant medicine, as well as her view on the most common fears associated with plant medicine and spiritual journey. As always, my job is to illuminate truth from all possible angles and perspectives, and you choose what resonates with you the most. Let's welcome Adrienne Kane. Adrienne, it is wonderful to have you here with us for the interview. And let's just dive deep right away. And my first question to you would be to share with us a little bit about your journey. How did you realize what you are? What was the journey? And where it is that you are right now?
Oh, good questions. Well, so I was born in Ireland, and Ireland has always been a very mystical place. But I was actually born into a very typical Irish Catholic family. So we didn't really get too involved in the mystics unless it was involved in religion. But I had a gorgeous dad who encouraged all of us to create gardens. So when I was only very little, each of us were given a patch of the garden and we were told we could grow whatever we wanted. So I had
the same with my mom.
I love it. So I had a rockery garden. I loved rocks and I loved plants that tumbled over rocks. I didn't want anything too tidy. So that was my first, if you like, memory of really connecting with earth, really feeling at home, touching the soil, digging the plants in, and watching everything grow. It was a huge passion. And it was also the connection to my dad. It was something that we all went out to the garden and did together. So we had our own corner, but it was something we did as a unit, whilst my mom, God help her, was probably in the kitchen doing the washing or cooking the dinner, or whatever practical thing that had to be done. And we were outside having fun. So I always loved that. And I also loved fairies. So fairies play a huge part, as anybody who knows Ireland would know, that we love our leprechauns or fairies. We love all the magic that goes with it, our pots of gold. And for me, the fairies were the magic that I loved. So working with the land at such an early age and connecting with the fae was something that I totally enjoyed. My imagination was one that went crazy. We used to go for walks in what we used to call the woods down the roads from us. Not so much woods when you look at woods across the world, but it was our little wood. And we would go there and pick bluebells and do whatever, just connecting, as I said. That was a fun thing to do, but I didn't realize until much later in life that it was a really important part of who I am today. That would turn up much later. So I totally enjoyed the nature of Ireland whilst growing up and enjoyed those connections. And I had a really profound connection, which was with Mother Mary. Mm-hmm. I had this really profound connection with her. I didn't understand anything about the religious aspects because, frankly, that wasn't so interesting. But I remember I used to set up an altar and I would put flowers on it. And again, it went back to putting things from nature, little stones, whatever, on my little altar table. Again, that would show up steps, baby steps or big jumps, depending on the person. But we can give these steps of how to take charge of your life again, how to reclaim your personal power, and how to get back on track. So that is basically the work that I do.
I love that. And to go deeper on that subject, let's talk a little bit about shamanism, because that's also the first word you said. And it's also, in my perspective, what I know about you, that's largely what I see when I look at you, right? So let's talk about shamanism. Let's say for people maybe who don't know what it is, or maybe if they do, we always learn something new. So if I were to ask you, what is shamanism from your perspective and understanding? Like, what would you tell me?
Okay, so shamanism for me is somebody who's talking modern day, everyday practice. It is a connection to earth. It is an understanding that the air we breathe, the sky that's above, the earth that is beneath us, everything that is organic matter is part of a life that us humans are experiencing whilst here on earth. And it is a full shamanic journey. It is a journey of being awake and being alert to the signs that are always around us, whether it's a bird flying or a butterfly landing on a flower. There's always some element of nature giving us signals and signs when we ask questions, if we sit quietly and observe, because we too are part of nature. And I think we forget that sometimes. So for me, it's a way of life. It's something that from the time I'm showering and I'm allowing the water wash away whatever energy from the night, clearing my field. So giving gratitude for the water, giving gratitude always for my food. I am vegetarian, so it's a very easy world for me, because when I go to the supermarket, I choose food based on what does my body want. What is it looking for today? What nourishment? So even to choosing food, herbs, whatever we use, that is all connecting into earth magic. That has spirit. It has a life force energy that we can connect to and heal our bodies, but just nurture ourselves, and start looking after ourselves a little bit better. If we recognized the spirit, the life force energy that is in everything, we would have a much more connected reality whilst here on earth. We wouldn't feel so disconnected. We wouldn't get so caught up, even if we're stuck on computers all day. We would still have that connection back to nature simply by looking outside, looking at the sky. And if you can't see the sky, bring some plants into your house. And if you can't bring plants into your house, when you purchase your food, put your herbs in a glass and sit them there until you use them. There are so many simple things that we can do. So to me, it's the spirit of nature, the spirit of everything. Realizing that life force is alive and it's there and it's just waiting for you to connect with it.
Just listening to you, Adrienne, I am reflecting to myself, well, I do all of that. I guess, does it mean me a shamanic practitioner? Everything that you said, I remember also from the childhood when I was growing up with my mom, who was also very connected. And I was one of those kids who were hugging trees and talking to fairies like many children do, right? So that's why I relate to your story. And my mom was always kind of encouraging this. She was encouraging to, like, you talk to nature, you say thank you to trees. Like, I remember you even don't break a branch of the tree without asking permission, right? Yeah. Because in Russia, we used to do this. Like, I don't know, if you go for and prepare whisks for the sauna, like usually you have to go to the birch tree and you create the whisk from the birch tree. And like I remember that we would go to the forest and we would talk to the tree and ask for the permission way before. I mean, that was like back in the USSR. It was way before. I didn't even know the word shamanism existed. You know, it was like before any of those things. Yeah. And so for me, it was very funny later when I left and just started reading those books. And I'm like, oh, it's called that. And it's called this. We were doing this. So I understand. I really do. Yeah,
because it's a way of life. It's a way of life. It's not a separate practice from everything else I do in my life. It's a way of life. And I encourage people, once we have our field of energy in place, that is a really vital, important part of energy work. So that would be the other thing I would say to those who've already got a practice in place. But for those starting out, to start baby steps practicing until they get it and they start to feel it. Once we have that, we'll do anything. Anything. Fear doesn't have to be a part of our lives.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. That was amazing. That was a really powerful time with you.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Jana. You know, when somebody talks about something I'm passionate about, God, I never shut up.
I know. And you're just so good at it. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you definitely brightened up my day with that. Yeah. So here we go about our daily lives. We'll be releasing this episode soon. Sending you lots of love from Europe at the moment.
Yeah, lots of love from Singapore. And for everybody out there, like just really bring some fun and some light back into your lives, no matter what's happening around you. Always look for the joy. Look for the joy.
Wow. Did you enjoy the interview? Feel free to share this episode with friends. Subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media. Stay wild and be humble. До встречи!